I'm Kristen.
And I'm Maddie.
We're sisters and heavy readers.
Join us every single week to talk stories, interview authors, and collab with fellow book nerds.
Welcome to the Chris and Matt Show.
Welcome to the show, you guys. We are so thrilled to introduce you to our guest today, Leigh Bardugo. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm home after being on the road for a couple of weeks, and I have to go back out in a couple of weeks. So right now I'm just really enjoying being at my house, in my garden. It's nice.
Oh my goodness. What are you gardening right now? Like what is being
Well, we're in late summer, so right now it's just keeping things alive because it's so hot on the West Coast. So it's really just making sure everything is nurtured. We did do some plantings for things that didn't make it through the summer. We have a fountain, we have shade trees, we have these big beautiful elms, and these they're called false strawberry trees, are Buddhist trees. You can eat the fruit off of them, although we haven't gotten it. Mostly the squirrels get the fruit, but it's very peaceful here, and I'm very much an introvert, so after touring I need time to really decompress and not talk to anyone.
Yes, non-social time. Essentially.
Yes, and thankfully my husband is an introvert too, so we can just be next to each other in silence, and it is excellent. Yeah,
that is so peaceful. I love it. Well, other than being a gardener and an introvert, we should do a proper introduction. So, for those of you who don't know, Leigh is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, and she's the mastermind behind the Grishaverse, which we all know and love. The Grishaverse is the fantasy world, the setting of the Shadow and Bone trilogy, the Six of Crows duology, and the King of Scars duology, as well as, I think there's a graphic novel in the world, right?
There's a graphic novel, there's a book of short stories, it's illustrated, it's very beautiful. And there's also a book of, there's an in-world book of saints' lives. There's a lot. If you are interested in exploring that particular world, there's plenty of material available.
It's so expansive, but also we have the Alex Stern series, which has 2 books out. That's Ninth House and Hellbent, and book 3 is coming out in 2026.
Yes,
and
yes.
The Familiar.
Yes, and The Familiar was a standalone that came out last year. That's closer to historical fiction, really, than even fantasy. And yes, the 3rd Ninth House book will be out if I can get it done, if I can get everything, if I can hit my deadline, it'll be out in September of next year. And I've been calling it Tokyo Drift in interviews so that I don't reveal the title accidentally.
Good work. I'm obsessed with the covers of your books, all of them, but especially I feel like Ninth House and Hellbent have such stunning, striking covers. So I'm very excited for the cover reveal of book 3.
We just saw the comps, and we were sorting the font colors, and it's the kind of fiddly business that makes me crazy because I'm not really, I'm a visual person, but I'm not a designer, and so I'm always like, I know it hasn't landed, but I don't know how to get it there. I think I'm pretty happy with where we ended up.
Oh, good. Yeah,
that is so exciting.
Those covers are so beautiful. And you have a new release, The Invisible Parade.
Yes, that's my first picture book. It was written with John Picasso, and we just came off of tour for it. But it's a picture book set on the night of Dia de Muertos, and it's about a girl named Kala who's grieving her grandfather and enters the cemetery and meets 4 horsemen. And the final horseman is actually death. So it's spooky and strange, and it's full of both of our personal experiences, and we're pretty proud of it. But yeah, touring with a picture book is very different from touring with a novel. We got some very good questions from tiny children who I am not a mom. I don't have kids. And I was like, oh no, don't scar this child. Figure out the right answer.
Well, we are both mothers. I have a 9 and a 7-year-old, and Kristen has a 13, an 11, and a 9-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
So, should they read it?
I think so, especially if we really wrote this book it can certainly exist as just a spooky fall adventure around Halloween and Dia, although I am compelled to mention that Dia de Muertos is not Mexican Halloween. It has some very real cultural meaning and is much more holiday and is about remembrance. And so people can enjoy it in that way, but they can also, I think, we built this story to help people deal with grief and to help adults talk to their kids about grief. My experience when I lost my dad was things were really noisy at first. Like, death, you don't think about it, but it requires all these logistics, right? You're dealing with somebody's belongings, you're dealing with their final wishes. It's loud. And there's a lot of people around. And then it goes really quiet. And I think that it's not that people don't care. It's just they don't know how to reach out, or they don't know the right words to say to someone. And sometimes that can leave the person who's grieving very isolated. So we wanted to write a book that would provide a way to talk among friends, among families, and to talk about sort of the things we fear around death, and also how we process grief, and we can hold on to the good memories of people.
Oh, wow.
That sounds incredible.
Would love it.
I hope so. Well, I'll send you a copy. I hope you'll like it. Yeah.
All 5 of our children are really obsessed with this time of year, and I wouldn't say it's so Halloween specific, but I think they just love like the dark night of the soul mood.
Well, they are our children.
Yeah. So I really think that they would be obsessed. So I'm so excited. They're going to have to snag a copy. So we just wanted to make sure everyone knew who you are professionally, but now we get to figure out behind the scenes too.
And don't forget, Maddie, we were going to mention that there's an amazing screen adaptation right now with Netflix. Congrats on that. That's how I found you, Leigh, is because I was obsessed with the show, and I went out and bought the books immediately and read them to my children, cutting out some parts. Those were from my ears. But yeah, that's how I found you, and it is so cool that there's so many ways that people can enjoy your work.
I forgot that you found Shadow and Bones first.
It was a binge situation.
Okay,
Mal was the book boyfriend immediately, and then I was like, wait, who's this guy with the cane? He's so mysterious. I need the book. So it's just such a good time, just a great time in the Grishaverse.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to talk more about it. But okay, we do love to play a game at the start.
Yes. So obviously these are all things people could have just found on Google about you, but what they don't know is the real deep truth. So we're going to play 2 truths and a lie, where you're going to tell us 3 things, and we have to guess which of the 3 is the lie. Are you ready?
I'm ready. All right. Number 1, I was my high school mascot. Number 2, I've never had a cavity. Number 3, I once had to go to the emergency room because I ate an entire calla lily.
What? Wait, excuse me?
Was I supposed to be deeper? Was it supposed to be like, I first fell in love when I was in Madagascar? Like, I don't, like, what was I supposed to be deeper?
What I love about it is, like, I don't know why we do this to ourselves when we're talking to professional storytellers, because we always are so cocky, like, surely we'll be able to figure out the line. And I'm like, these people literally tell stories for a living. Like,
we are professional liars.
Anything.
Yes. Straight face mascot for high school.
Yes, I have no idea which of those is the lie. Totally boggled.
I like really want the mascot one to be true because I want to hear about it.
Same.
But the no cavity would be quite a flex.
What
so
a
I think
flex.
you deserve a badge if that's true, or a medal of some kind.
That must be your good flosser.
That's kind of wild.
Yeah, I need to know that story if that's true.
Okay, so Maddie, what is like your gut?
I'm gonna say, just from pure envy, if it's true. Like, it's a lie that you have no cavities.
That's a good one. Yeah, what do you think?
You're both going with that?
Yeah.
I have no cavities. Never had a cavity.
That's
I'm 50. I'm turning 51 this coming April, and I've never had a cavity. Here's the crazy thing. My husband thought he had never had a cavity. And we had all kinds of theories about this. Like, oh, maybe this is why, like, when we were exposed to COVID, like, we didn't get, both of us didn't get COVID until very, like, late in the pandemic, right? Wow. So we thought maybe these are connected because, science. And we were completely convinced by this. And then we go to the dentist. Keep in mind, my husband had not been to the dentist the whole time I had dated him, known him. He did not want to go. And I was like, for my birthday, you are going to the doctor and to the dentist. And he went to the dentist. First of all, he has great teeth. But second, he had a filling. That man did not remember he had had a cavity. I know.
How could you forget something like that? It's so intrusive when they're in your mouth. So
invasive.
It must have been when he was really young that he got it. Like, but I cannot explain it, but he was like, what?
You didn't like unravel the bedrock of your relationship. Like it's all a lie.
I did immediately ask for a divorce.
Right.
I was more just like, I was just kind of shocked and also felt cocky because I still have no cavities. So you know, as long as I win, I don't care if you lied, as long as I win. Yeah.
Understandable. So which one was the lie?
The calla lily. The calla lily was the lie. Yeah.
But the mascot was
true.
So yes, I had a bunch of friends. I went to an all-girls school. I had a bunch of friends on the basketball team, and I grew up in LA, and they're very like volleyball focused here, or they were back in the 80s and 90s. So nobody would come to their games. So I would wear the suit. It was our mascot was a Mustang, but it was a girl Mustang because, yeah. I want you to just roll with this, please. And so it was like a horse suit, and it was a one-person horse suit. You didn't have to get in it with two people. One-person horse suit, and then there was like a little mop wig with a purple bow on it. And I would like dance on the sidelines and encourage my friends on the team, which all great, except here's what I can tell you. One, mascot heads smell disgusting. It's God. Like you're in a filthy sweat sock. It's just everybody's sweat. And I would sometimes forget to wear my contacts on game days. And so I'd wear my glasses and they would instantly steam up. So I want you to picture young Goth Leigh in a horse suit, just blind and boogieing on the sidelines. That's how
We need photo proof, please.
The beautiful thing about growing up at that time was no one had a cell phone.
Oh, yeah.
No one had a cell phone. There's no proof. But yeah.
That's incredible.
I don't know why like your like cool level just like raised exponentially. Like,
you are literally the only human being who would hear that story and be like, cool.
Well, cool. I mean, I became a cheerleader so that I could do that because there weren't any costumes available, and the cheerleading costume seemed like a costume.
That's so much cooler. Let's discuss the Dallas Cowboys cheerleader at the end of this, of the America's Sweethearts, because that show is addictive.
Yeah. Oh yeah, our mom like binged that in 2 seconds.
Yeah, she did.
Have you not watched that?
We have not seen it yet.
No, we spend most of our time reading books.
Oh my god, weird. The written word.
Weird.
So wild. Yeah. Okay. And we'll talk books instead. We'll be like that.
Oh, that was shocking though, and also so entertaining. Thank you for my dose of dopamine today.
That was good.
I didn't know I needed it, but now I'm like, I needed that.
That's amazing.
Okay, so this year, actually the end of this month on September 29th, we heard that Six of Crows is turning 10. Happy birthday, yeah. Six of Crows. And so we're going to be celebrating a new edition, the Dregs edition, which is absolutely stunning. This is not the Dregs.
It is not. But this is my prized copy that I love, that it's marked to hell, and I love it so much.
Okay,
but I am very excited for my Dregs edition as well. They can both exist.
Oh yeah, we are so excited. So talk to us about that. What's it been like creating like a 10-year anniversary edition?
I mean, it is very strange to me because the last 10 years went very quickly, it feels like. Like I would believe like a 5-year and not a 10-year. And I didn't know what this book was going to be when I was writing this. I remember very clearly getting the idea for this story, pitching it to my agent. Initially, it was all going to just be like a jewel heist for the Fjord Queen's jewels. And she was like, you need to raise the stakes. There has to be something deeper involved. So I like, of course, was like, how dare she not understand my genius? But then I went home, made myself a cup of tea, and was like, okay, wait, she has a point, and came up with the idea of this drug that was going to change magic in the Grisha world, and that ended up being a huge part of the ongoing series. But yeah, I mean, I remember sort of all of those steps. I remember working on that book. It was the first book I sold on proposal, which I don't want to talk down to your audience, but just means like I wrote an outline and like sort of a world Bible and a summary of the plot, and my publisher said, great, here's a check, go write it, which I had never done. You know, I had written an entire manuscript on SPAC before. So great, amazing, except the problem with a proposal, and I don't know if you two have experienced this, like you get an idea, it seems great, it seems golden, but then you actually have to write it. And there's such a wild difference between an outline and an actual first draft. And my zero draft went swimmingly. Like I wrote those 30,000 words right quick. And then I had to make everything make sense. And I just kept thinking someone smarter than me should write this book. Like it's a great idea, but someone much smarter than I am needs to write this book, because I was just doing things I had never attempted before. I was writing in 5 different POVs. I was writing flashbacks. I was writing cons and heists and swindles. And I felt very intimidated by the project. And I will say too, at that time, like what was popular in young adult was like queens, kings, princesses, chosen ones, which is sort of very much where the Shadow and Bone trilogy lives. So I was like, what are you doing? No one is going to want to read this book. And thankfully I was wrong, but you just don't know when you're working on something that you love and you want to make it as good as possible. You just don't know what the reception will be. And honestly, it's the book that changed the shape of my career.
Right. It's so interesting to hear you have those thoughts, like, what if no one likes this? Because it is so extremely beloved today, and it was so well received. And it's just, and I guess a part of me wonders and knows, like, I'm sure authors have those voices in their heads, like I'm sure they have the doubts, but it still boggles me when I hear it, because I'm just like, I also am like, but don't you also have that feeling of like, this is gold, this is so cool, this has never existed before, like I stumbled upon something new?
I mean, I think that most writers have to occupy this space between delusions of grandeur, like actual megalomania, where you're like, I'm a genius, this is genius, like, look at this sentence I just wrote, be prepared, world, right? Like, because that conviction is going to carry you through the long work of writing a novel. Right? Like a novel is a commitment. And it is going to push you also to do things you haven't done before. Like if you don't have that voice, then you stay doing the same thing again and again and again, because that's your comfort zone. Okay. But then you have this other voice, and that's the drafting voice. The drafting voice says you're brilliant in every way possible. The revision voice says you're garbage. And you have failed in every way, and now you have to fix it. And that sort of acute humility, the ditch of humility, and then like the tower of megalomania are, to me, the two parts of being a writer that have to be navigated to move through the process of drafting, revision, copy edits, first pass, all the way to publication. And there's going to be a point in that process where you fall out of love with this idea that you were so in love with. Like, I've spoken to exactly one author who said she was in love with her idea from start to finish. And I was like, what a blessing. But for me, and for most of the people I know, there is a point, and sometimes it's in the draft, sometimes it's in the first revision, sometimes it's in copy edits, where you fall out of love and you think, I've made a mistake. This isn't the right path. I should have done this other thing. Oh, look at that sexy idea over there. I'm going to go work on that instead, that wants to sway you from your commitment to the thing. And so I always say that writing a book is not about falling in love. It's about staying in love. And, like with a relationship, like falling in love is great. Everybody loves a meet cute. Fabulous. What happens when, the moonlight and martinis end? Then you have to wrestle with the tough questions. And the days where you don't feel like a good writer, when you're in the ditch of humility, the way you treat those days, I think, is the difference between having the dream of being a writer and actually getting to say, I've written a book.
Right. We recently watched your TED Talk, which we will link.
So you know all this. You're like, this is all old news to me.
It was so good to hear you restate that, because I felt like your whole talk really did get into the whole grit that it takes to actually finish your projects and to go from feeling like you had your spark of genius to like actually delivering something to the world. And I'm just so glad that you hung with it through those doubts, because I suppose you did have a check in hand, and so they were like, you will write this book.
I mean, there is that. You do not want to give back the money. That is absolutely true. I was like, I need this. And people will often say, what motivates you to get through a book? And I'm like, money. I want to make money. But it's also that this is the other truth, is that if you are going into any kind of artistic endeavor for fortune and glory, you have chosen the wrong path. Like, that is like walking into a casino and thinking you're going to get rich. Like, the odds are not in your favor. It is a fickle I can only speak directly to publishing, but publishing is a very fickle business and the market changes all of the time. And we don't reward it. And I am under no delusion that my books are successful because they're the best books. I know too many talented writers who've written beautiful stories that have never gotten the attention they deserve. Not because they didn't work hard, not because they didn't hustle, just because their publisher didn't get behind them, or because it wasn't the right moment in the market, or because some other book that took up all the oxygen came out the week before. And when you've seen that enough, and when you have favorites that you mention and people are like, huh? You're like, oh, come on. These are such special books. And the idea that they languish undiscovered is sort of killing for anybody who loves stories. But I think that's also what it's what keeps me very grateful, even when I am having those days when I'm struggling. And there's also the reality that I had can I swear? Is this a story? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I won't. I had a fuck ton of really terrible jobs before I got to have my dream job. I didn't publish until I was 37. And I had so many bad jobs where I was working my butt off, but I was working my butt off for someone else. And it means something very different to be pouring all that work and love into something that is yours.
Yeah. So what did it feel like? You go through the process of writing Six of Crows, it goes out into the world. At what point did Netflix pick up your project? Because Shadow and Bone doesn't cover the plot of Six of Crows, but the Dregs are in the Six of Crows adaptation. So I'm assuming the project came along after Six of Crows.
Okay. So this is actually also instructive if there are writers in your audience. So we first sold the rights to Shadow and Bone in 2012 to DreamWorks.
Oh.
And it wasn't the rights, it was an option, to be clear. It was an option for the rights. And then the woman who brought that project in left. And when that happens in Hollywood, it's, you've been orphaned. So it's very rare for somebody else. Yeah, like people want to feel they have ownership and that they found the thing and they'll get the credit for the thing. So it languished there while the rights were there. Then I was working on Six of Crows, and my agent set up a meeting with these two guys at Netflix. And this was back when Netflix was like, they were a network or a streamer, but they were also still like sending out DVDs. This was a long while back. And I go in and they're like, well, we're not really interested in Six of Crows. We're interested in Shadow and Bone. And then they made me draw a map, which was really weird. They're like, could you draw us a map of the world? And I was like on the whiteboard being like, is this a test? Because this is the easiest test I literally made this world up. Like I know where everything is. But they were like, look, we really, if those rights ever become available, come back to us. So I'm like, and to me, it was crazy because in my mind, Six of Crows was so much less expensive to make, so much more different. And because I had just written this. And so I was feeling very in love with this story and I wanted to tell people about it. So many years later, now, like we're probably close to like 2017. We get a call from Netflix and they're interested in Shadow and Bone. And I said, well, I think you should talk to Eric Heiserer because he posted. Eric Heiserer is a Academy Award nominated screenwriter, and he wrote the adaptation of Arrival. And on his way to the Academy Awards, he posted on what was then Twitter a picture of Six of Crows on his lap. I mean, like, I'm reading this on the way, and it's so good. And I was like, ooh.
And freaking out. I loved the movie Arrival.
I did too. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant and a very challenging adaptation. And I mean, it was also just a hell of a flex. Like, here I am in my tuxedo with reading my book on the way to the Academy Awards. I was like, nice. But I was like, I know he's read these books. He might be interested. So Heiser comes in, and before he even meets with them, he's like, I want to meet with you. And he was like, and we went to this cafe, and he said, I want to bring these two things together. I want to do Six of Crows and Shadow and Bone. I was like, great. That's what I was hoping you would say. Like, because to me, it makes the world feel bigger and richer. And then the challenge became how to bring these stories together. And initially, he really wanted to take the plot of Six of Crows and put it together with the plot of Shadow and Bone. And I knew you couldn't have the Darkling, who's the antagonist in Shadow and Bone, and Jirta Parem in the same room. Like, it would blow up so many books full of plot. Like you would just, that's it. Like you could find a different path, but it would be a very different path.
Right.
So when he came up with the idea of the Crows heisting Alina, I was like, oh yes. Like I was on the call when he pitched this, and you could feel like everybody on that call was just like, hell yeah. Like we found the key. And that was all Heiserer. Like he found the way to bring these stories together. And I think it occupies sort of a unique space in adaptations because I think it honored, particularly the first season, I think honored the content of the books and the characters, but also provided something very different and exciting for readers. Like that was almost like an AU, like it was almost an alternate universe situation. And I don't think that's that common. I think that was born out of those writers actually caring about the readers and actually caring about the books, which is not that common in Hollywood.
Right. I think it's brilliant how the two were put together. I'm only sad that we don't have more seasons, but I loved how it went together. And I think it works particularly well in TV now, that multi-POV where there's lots of different characters to follow. I think it hooks and grips an audience better. And I think in fantasy, we come to expect that. Like we really want that multi-POV and we want to feel like that expansion in the world. We want to see different cultures. And it works so well in the show. I love it so much. And I love that we got the backstories from Six of Crows, because that's where my emotional impact in Six of Crows is really in the backstories of each character. And I love that we got some of that in Shadow and Bone.
I always say I have kind of a popcorn movie brain. Like I have like a little Michael Bay in my brain being like explosions, like car chases. But the thing I've always found is like when I envisioned Six of Crows, I was thinking we pitched it as Ocean's 11 meets Game of Thrones, right? It's a fantasy heist, but Ocean's 11 is a delightful movie, but it is not what I would call like a deep emotional movie, right? You're not going to cry watching Ocean. I mean, maybe you will. I don't know. Maybe you feel really passionate about a well-turned heist, but it's not built for that level of depth. And the thing that I've always found is I set out with kind of a romp in mind, but if you're going to explore a world, honestly, like if you're going to talk about this crew of thugs and thieves, well, what made them who they are? What made them criminals? What were the social pressures that did that? And how did they each individually respond to these same conditions in their world? And to me, that became kind of the guiding force of all of those flashbacks and all of the backstories. And I remember writing Kaz's backstory, sitting in this big old leather chair and just being so depressed afterwards and being like, I'm going to go write Nina and Matthias banter for like a half hour just to like cleanse my palate. Yeah.
Oh, it's so heavy. But Kaz and Inej, his backstory combined with her temperament in the present and the way their relationship is impacted by his backstory is like the emotional depths of that story for me. I love it so much. I have a tattoo. I think I showed it to you at Worldcon for Six of Crows. That's how much it means to me, just so you know. Like, just trying to play it cool over here, but this story is very important to me.
I am very honored, and their relationship was, is very much the engine of, it's the emotional heart, I think, of the story, and I think speaks to all of those ideas of what the world does to you and how you find people in it who can support you and help you to survive it. So I'm glad that it resonated with you.
Oh, it landed. And it's so fun to pick up a book that while you're reading it, you're like, I can't wait for the reread.
Yeah. Well, and I can't wait to experience it with other people because we've always read with our dad our whole lives. So we share recommendations. So when I gave him Six of Crows, that was the first text I got while he was reading it. So he's like, I'm at the scene with Kaz and Inej. They're in the bathroom and I'm crying. And I'm like, I know. Dad is so cute.
I mean, I can tell you that scene I rewrote more than any scene in any book I've ever written because you have two people with a lot of trauma who are reaching out to each other, and the calibrations of that, for me, I was like, if I get this wrong, no reader is ever going to forgive me for this scene. So I really wanted to do right by both of those characters. And I had sort of, okay, so here's a fun fact. So that scene did not exist in the first draft of the book.
Oh my.
It did not exist in the first draft of the book. I had written the first draft, and then I gave it to my friends, Holly Black and Sarah Reese Brennan, when we were on retreat. And they were kind enough to do a very fast read for me. And they were like, well, where's the romantic payoff? Where's my romance? And I was like, they hold hands. What are you talking about? They were like, no, give us more. And I was like, okay. And this is true for me with all of my drafts. I am very plot focused. And then I need to be reminded that people have emotions. So I went back in and found this moment. And I'm so grateful that they pushed me to do it, because I think it was so important to these characters and their story. And I had not really given them any deep moment of catharsis like that. So have great critique partners is maybe the most important lesson of being a working author.
Oh, I love that they were able to just like ask you for that, and you were able to go back in retroactively and find the right spot for it, because it is so perfect.
I say this all the time, but art is iterative. Like, I don't believe great books happen in the first draft. Great books happen in revision. And the moments I'm most proud of, like, there are certainly pieces of prose, scenes, beats that just flow and that live on from the first draft until the last. But a lot of the work I'm most proud of comes out of deep revision. And we do usually 2 rounds of developmental edits. Like, those are the, like, let's make sure the walls are standing. Let's make sure the rooms are all in the right place. Let's make sure the pacing is right and the logic is sound, and that we're getting those big emotional payoffs. Those are the sort of the big, the most terrifying elements of revision that require the most work. And then you get into the nitty gritty of, like, let's get the line work right, the dialogue right, and looking for the places. I always read my books out loud, and you will find places where suddenly a piece of prose takes you out of the story, or a line from a character doesn't sound right in your ear. And I think that that read is always so important in terms of, again, sort of fine tuning. But to me, it's also like, once I don't like drafting. I have friends who love drafting and hate revision. I like revision because once it's there, I'm like, the terror of I don't know how to do this is gone. And I can say, okay, now I at least have something to work with.
I could totally relate to that. Not in writing, but like in painting or any other art, I also prefer the editing process.
Yes. Yeah, because I feel like you like to step back and see it and then like embellish it. But yes, when you're like down in individual spaces and you're trying to create, it can just get overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy for the people that just thrive in that realm.
I mean, yeah, bless them. And again, everybody's process is different and everybody's experience of writing is different. And that's why I'm always like, I could talk writing process all day long, but the reality is the big challenge of being an aspiring writer and probably an aspiring artist is finding your process. It's not laid out for you the way other professions are. And so finding the thing that works for you and allows you to maintain momentum and passion for a project, that's the secret thing. And once you find that, you will use that again and again and again.
Yeah. Does your audience help motivate you at all? Because we did have some questions about, this is a crazy fandom, and we just wanted to ask you about that before we wrap up.
Yeah, what's it like having so many fans?
Does it help you in like motivating you, or does it
no
actually
I find it terrifying, honestly. Okay. Like, look, let me be really clear. When I first started touring, and I'm again very lucky, my publisher sent me out to tour with my very first book and has kept me touring through most of my years in the business. But I did events when we would do events where there was almost more people on the panel than in the audience. You know, you do events for 5 people, 6 people, then you're like, oh wait, 40 people turned up. All right, you know, we have arrived. You know, like that was, and the tour is much easier then too, because you're like, oh, we have time, we'll go out to dinner afterwards or whatever. And I didn't understand sort of and I felt grateful for all of those things just because I had so many bad jobs and because I had been in such a bad place before. Publishing kind of saved me, right? Writing books saved me. It saved me from a bad relationship. It saved me from a very dark place in my life. Storytelling did that for me. Books did that for me. Wow. They were both my refuge, and then they were the thing that brought me out of this. The reason I was able to leave my ex was because I got the advance on my first book, okay? I had no bank account. I had no credit cards. And then guess what? I'm out. Like, you know, like I am going, and here's my ticket. And so for me, there's a lot of emotion built into those early years. But I can say that there was a moment where we felt this shift. And I think it was actually when Crooked Kingdom came out, where all of a sudden the crowds got bigger and we were seeing cosplay and we were seeing such wonderful art. And I have always just felt this tremendous sense of community and gratitude with that, because I grew up as a fan. Fandom has always meant a lot to me. Fandom has paid me back. Like John Picasso, I met through the George R. R. Martin fandom. David Peterson, who built the languages for the show, for Shadow and Bone on Netflix, he and I met because of I went to a panel on Dothraki because I'm that big a nerd at Worldcon. Yeah, like in Reno years and years ago. So to me, fandom can be this tremendous force for good. That said, there's another side of it. There's a level of expectation that goes with it, a level of demand. People can be incredibly cruel. And I don't have a thick skin, so I have had to sort of remove myself from that. And, I had plans to continue with a third Six of Crows book after Rule of Wolves. But for me, writing in the Grishaverse became a little more fraught. Like, it was too loud, too crowded. I didn't feel like it was just me and the story anymore. And so I kind of had to step away from that. Although I will say, and I said this on tour, so I assume it's okay for me to talk about it here, I did write a little short story. It's all told in letters, from Jesper, from Kaz to Inej, and Inej to Kaz. I like your response.
I'm freaking out.
So it's like found documents, and it's short, but I wanted to put something together for the 10th anniversary. And so it's coming. It's coming. It's we're working with it's very complicated to publish because it has letters and all these pieces of ephemera. So we're trying to figure out how to do that, but we are working with a partner right now, and we hope to announce it soon. So in the year between the anniversary of Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, we hope to bring that up.
That's amazing.
What a gift.
So excited.
Aww.
It's so interesting you're going to maybe write a third book, because I feel like I was thoroughly destroyed by Crooked Kingdom and put back together again just enough to go on. And I felt like, okay, it's done. Like where would we have gone from there?
These were characters I really struggled to leave behind. Most of the time when I'm done with something, I am done with it. I don't feel any sense of like, oh gosh, it's all over now. I just think this was so hard, and I hope I got it right, and I don't ever want to look at this again. But I love writing these characters. And so for me, there was sort of this opportunity to create a kind of another worlds collide situation. And I have an idea for a plot, but I just don't know. To me, there is a question mark for whether or not it's necessary. And I am fortunate enough to not be in a position where I need to just write a book for the check. And again, I understand that is unusual in publishing. But for me, that means I'm never going to write this book if it doesn't feel right for the characters. I'm not interested in a cash grab. I just don't want to do that until it feels right. And it may never feel right.
Yeah, I respect that. Honestly, thank you for not just creating something for a paycheck. Yeah. I mean, you didn't, so no shame in your game when you had to hustle, but now that you're not hustling, just do what's fun and where the creativity is flowing, go with that stream.
And you're playing in other worlds now too, with the Alex Stern series and The Familiar, and you're doing other projects now too. So I think it's just if you feel compelled, if there's a story that really needs.
I think a novel requires so much commitment, and again, I am sort of keenly aware of what these characters mean for folks, and if it doesn't feel right, there's no reason to do it. And I think that's also one of the beautiful ways, that's fan fiction exists for a reason. People can come up with their own stories that exist after these stories. And I would rather people be fed by that at this point than me trying to force something that doesn't feel right. I just don't think it would serve anyone. And I know that will be disappointing to some people, but there's also the reality that, like, if you put characters back in dire situations, you don't know what's going to happen to them. Right, I don't think anybody wants to see anything bad happen to them.
Exactly.
No, we're happy. You're right. Yeah. Fanfic is there. We're okay.
And if you read my books, I love to kill people off. So, I cry when I'm writing it. I cry when I'm revising it, but I still do it. The axe must fall. So always wise to keep in mind. Yeah.
I think that's why your stories transcend the Grishaverse really transcends the young adult genre. That's a side note, but I think it's because you are ruthless.
Thank you.
I love it.
She's like, compliment.
You don't ever want people to feel like all of your characters are wearing hero armor, right? Yeah. Like, you want them to believe you could do anything at any time. As a butcher once said to me in LA. I walked in and I was like, oh, can you put this together with this? And he's wearing a bloody apron and he just says, I could do anything at any time. And I was like, okay. But that butcher is the person I think of when I'm like, I want that feeling to imbue my stories. I want you to believe I could kill anybody off at any time. Otherwise, you get into a fight and you're like, oh, they're going to be fine. I know they're going to be fine. It's just
Leigh Bardugo there in her bloody apron.
In my bloody apron with my cleaver in hand.
Maybe that's our next tattoo, right? With a cleaver.
With a cleaver. I was just thinking the thumbnail of this video is just Leigh with a superimposed bloody apron on top. I love it.
Don't do that.
I love it. I love every part of it.
Well, you have been so generous and actually gone over the time you promised us. Do you have time for one more question, or should we sign off?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah,
one more?
I have time.
Yeah. Mostly, we just want to know where your imagination is headed next. What, even if it's not like a signed project or like a thing that's for sure happening, just like where creatively are you feeling challenged and satisfied and drawn?
Oh my goodness. Well, I actually have a few things that are cooking right now. I am working on the third book in the Ninth House series. And that I know people have been waiting on that, and I feel bad for how long people wait on those, but they do take a lot of work. So I'm going to finish out that trilogy. I'm working on a big horror project that is very strange and has other people involved in it. It's a big experiment, but I'm very excited for that. I'm working on a graphic novel.
Ooh.
And there's actually a screenplay I really want to write that I've been saying I want to write for years. I haven't been able to find time to really push on it, but if I could find some time, maybe on vacation, that is something I really want to try. And I can tell you, I am cooking on an idea for another standalone book, but I won't get to work on that and research that for another couple of years, but that would be a historical. And I don't actually know if that one would have any magic in it, but it would have poison in it, and that is its own kind of magic.
It is.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like with the Alex Stern series, at least, even though, of course, it is an urban fantasy, I think that groundedness and magical realism is totally a flex you have. Like, I love stylistically how you do it, because I feel like I can then recommend. We read so much sci-fi and fantasy, but it's always fun when we can recommend a book that, of course, we love for the fantasy elements, but that I feel like any reader could love, like anyone who reads literary fiction.
I do love a Trojan horse book, like where people think it's one thing and then it turns out to be another. And I think I feel so passionately about fantasy as a genre and wanting, it's strange to me the way a lot of people will not even think about picking up a book. They think it's fantasy. They just don't have an interest in that, or they think they don't have an interest in that. And I'm always baffled by that, because I read across every genre.
Right.
And I would never kind of close the door on any subset of books, because you just don't know what you might miss. And so I'm always trying to build something that might invite more people in. Although I will say, when I was getting ready to write this third Alex Stern book, I went and reread Ninth House and Hellman, and I never reread my work. I hate rereading my work because I always find things I would change. I would fix. It's bizarre. It's like you're reading something that somebody else wrote, but I reread Ninth House and I was like, oh my gosh, bless the weirdos. Like, bless the weirdos who embrace this book. This book is so batshit. Like, and it throws you right into it. It's like, let's go. And I was like, first of all, bless my publisher for publishing what was a niche book as a lead title. That's not common. And also bless all of the readers who sort of ignored all the chatter around the book and actually went for it and discovered whether they would love it or not on their own. Like, I feel a tremendous debt of gratitude for all of my fellow all my fellow weirdos and goths who embraced this book.
It's just like such a, I think we always pitch it as like, if you love a secret society and you want it to be as weird and depraved as you hope secret societies are, you should probably try it just for the vibes. Like, just for
my friend Kirk described it as Harry Potter as directed by Darren Aronofsky. And I was like, if I could put that as a blurb on this book, I absolutely would.
Don't you ever wish you could just pick the blurbs? That would be
great. Oh my gosh, yes.
Blurb your own book. Blurb your own
James
book.
Patterson blurbed his own book. Amazing. He blurbed his own book. Like, this is the dream. Yeah.
What an icon.
Oh,
Wow.
this was such a good time. I'm really glad that we were able to make this happen. We got to meet you at WorldCon, and we were so giddy. I kept looking at Maddie being like, be cool. Yeah, don't freak out.
Never be cool. Cool is overrated. Cool
we
is
probably
so
should have
overrated.
Not been cool, and you probably would have accepted us even
I
more.
100% would have, but it was lovely to meet you, and thank you for this. This was so much fun.
Oh, it's been a total pleasure. We are going to link your TED Talk below and over to your website so that people can get all of the books, and especially the special editions, because the Dregs special edition comes out this month. We're so excited.
And I am going on tour for that. I think there are still a few tickets left in DC and North Carolina if you can get in there. So come on out and get a signed copy. And we're also going to have, I can't say that yet, but we're going to have a really fun little giveaway at the event. So.
Very fun.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
We will make sure to put those links in the description for everyone. But thank you so much for joining us, Leigh. It was very special for us. We appreciate you taking the time. And thank you all so much for listening. We will see you in the next episode. Bye.